What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of The Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And as always, before I start these, I like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusions, to make your own decisions, to have your own answers, and I believe in your ability to do so, to be your own person. And before I start, I have an audio version of this podcast anywhere you can find audio podcasts, and I have a video version of the podcast on YouTube. They're both named The Spiritual Word. I'm your host, Jackie. I upload Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And if science, psychology, spirituality, self-help, and philosophy are things that you're interested in, then I recommend subbing or following. And as my returning babies already know, we're reading Start Where You Are by Pema Chodron. And we're on chapter 3. So before I start, there's a little princess on my lap. So, I'm just trying to waste a little bit of time so she can get used to, I don't know, whatever she's trying to get used to and, go on her little merry way. And for the audio listeners, it's my cat. My cat's on my lap, and she needs to get off. Oh, she's on my desk. Okay. So, she jumped on my lap and she smelled like straight dookie. I was like, ugh. Okay. Anyway, I love her regardless. It did stink though for a while, but it went away fairly quickly. So, anyways, we're on chapter 3 and it's called Pulling Out the Rug. And I'm gonna try to do my best to read these very concise and clear because I'm like dyslexic or something because I can't. I'm 24 and I never learned how to read. If you've ever seen that Vine. Anyways, I digress. Chapter 3, Pulling Out the Rug. As I said before, the main instruction is to simply lighten up. But by taking that attitude towards one practice and one's life, by taking a more gentle and appreciative attitude towards oneself and others, the sense of burden that all of us carry begins to decrease. The next slogan is examine the nature of unborn awareness. The real intention of the slogan is to pull out the rug from underneath you in case you think you understood the previous slogan. If you feel proud of yourself because of how you really understood everything is like a dream, then the slogan here is to challenge that smug certainty. Yep. Okay. So, it's so funny because I was literally talking about how I understood this, and then it's like, no. So, where was I? Well, who is this anyway? Who thinks that they have discovered that everything is a dream? Examine the nature of unborn awareness. Who is this? Who am I? Where did it come from? Who is the one realizing everything? Who is it? Who? Aware? Huh? Who is it? Who? Who? Hold on, I gotta reread that. I'm sorry. Who is it? Whose awareness? This slogan points to the transparency of everything, including our beloved identity. This previous me, who is me? Who is this me? The armor that we erect around our soft hearts. That was weird vocabulary. The armor that we erect around our soft hearts causes a lot of misery. But don't be deceived. It is very transparent. The more it gets, the more clearly you see it, the more you realize that this shield, this cocoon, is just made out of our thoughts that we churn out and regard as solid. The shield is not made of iron. The armor is not made out of metal. In fact, it's made out of a passing memory. Ooh, that was deep. I like that. That was cool. Sorry. The absolute quality of bodhicitta can never be pinned down. If you can talk about it, that's not it. So if you think that the awakened heart is something, it isn't. It's a passing memory. If you think that this big burden of ego, this monster cocoon, is something, it isn't. It's just a passing memory. Yet it's so vivid. The more you practice, the more vivid it gets. It's a paradox, and it can't be found. And yet, it couldn't be more vivid. We spend a lot of time trying to nail everything down. Concreting? Concreting? Just making everything solid and sure. We also spend a lot of time trying to dull or soften or fend off the vividness. When we awaken our hearts, we're changing the whole pattern, but not by creating a new pattern. We are moving further and further away from concreting, and making things so solid and trying to get some ground under our feet. This moving away of comfort and security and stepping into the unknown, uncharted, and shaky. That's called enlightenment, liberation. The Krishnamurti talks about it in the Book of Liberation from the Known. Alan Watts in the book In Wisdom of Insecurity. It is getting at the same thing. This isn't how we usually go about things in case you hadn't noticed. We usually try to get ground under our feet. As if you were in a spaceship going to the moon, you look back at the tiny planet Earth and realize that things are much vaster than any mind could ever conceive, and you couldn't handle it, so you just started to worry about what you were going to have for lunch. There you are in outer space with the sense of the world being so vast, and then you bring it down into this tiny world of worry about what's for lunch, hamburgers or hot dogs. We do this all the time. Facts. We do this all the time. In examining the nature of unborn awareness, examine is an interesting word. It is not a matter of looking or seeking, and now I've got it, but a process of examining and contemplating that leads to being able to relax with insecurity and or edginess or restlessness. Much joy comes from that. Examine the nature of the unborn awareness. Simply examine the nature of the one who has insight. Contemplate that. We could question its solid identity that we have, the sense of person, frozen in time and space. This monolithic me. Is that a word, monolithic? I don't know if I read that right. Monolithic me. In sitting practice, say thinking with a soft touch. Introduce a question mark. Who is doing all of that thinking? Who's churning out what? What's happening to whom? Who am I that's thinking? That's labeling thinking? Or that's going back to the breath? Or hurting? Or wishing lunch would happen soon? The next slogan is self-liberate, even the antidote. The next slogan is self-liberate, even the antidote. Why is that said like that? In case you think you understood, examine the true nature of the unborn awareness. Let go, even even of that understanding, that pride, that security, that sense of ground. The antidote that you've been asked to liberate the shunyata itself. These Buddhist words are going to be the death of me, I swear to God. Let go even the notion of emptiness, openness, or space. Everything, sorry. There was a crazy wisdom teacher in India named Saraha. He said that those who believe that everything is solid and real are stupid. Like cradle, 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 Cattle. But those who believe in everything is empty is even more stupid. Everything is changing all the time, and we want to keep pinning it down to fix it. So whatever you come up with, a solid conclusion, let the rug be pulled underneath you. You can pull your own rug. You can also let life pull out the rug for you. Having the rug pulled out from under you is a big opportunity to change your fundamental pattern. It's like changing our DNA. One way to pull out your own rug is just by letting go, lining up, being more gentle, not making such a big deal. This approach is very different from practicing affirmations, which has been very popular to do in some circles. Affirmations are like screaming that you're okay in order to overcome this whisper that you're not. That's a big contrast to actually overcome the whisper, realizing that it's a passing memory, and moving closer and closer to all those fears, all those edgy feelings that you're not okay. Well, no big deal. None of us is okay. And all of us are fine. It's not just one way. We are walking, talking paradoxes. I literally talked about this idea. Also, I'm sorry. I'm gonna pause and give my little 2 cents. I talked about this idea on my TikTok just because I feel like I post my more woo-woo content on my TikTok just because I feel like the people who search on YouTube, and this is obviously not the full set in stone case, but this is like a part of it. People who are searching things on YouTube or on my podcast, they specifically want how-tos. You want a exact formula of how to get to something. And if I can't provide you with a step-by-step guide for how to get to something with yielding results, then you don't want what I can offer you, even though what I'm offering you is freedom. And the only reason that you want freedom is because you're stuck in this physical body, in this physical experience, but you're not actually stuck here. And I talk about how you're not stuck here just because this is also like very rantish of me, but you're not stuck here because you have the choice of unaliving yourself, as awful as that sounds. You have that choice. That is a choice you make every single day, every single time you open your eyes and you say, I'm here. I am this person. And I talked about this very idea, talking about, what was it? That were walking, talking paradoxes. I literally talked about this in one of my posts. I was like, everything about everything is hypocrisy. And the only reason I say that is because nothing is pure black and white. Nothing is pure good and bad. Everything is a mixture of both. Everything that you have ever done has been a mixture of good and bad. Although you've never really recognized it for being that. Like, if you know that paradox where it's like, if one person's about to die on a track and you have an opportunity to pull this lever and you have to choose between killing 5 people versus 1 person, what are you going to choose? And there's no option in that thing, in that in that contemplation. Obviously it's not like a real thing, but that contemplation, there's no option to be like, oh, none of them, I don't want any of them to be gone, or both of them. There's no way to do none. or both. And I think that we forget that we have way more options than we let ourselves believe. And because of that, we're a walking paradox because we identify white and black as the solidification of everything. And I was literally meditating and doing the meditation this, not morning, because I never wake up early, but this afternoon I was doing the meditation where it's like, okay, breathe and be gentle, breathe and be gentle. And I was trying to be gentle in a really pointy way. And I realized that being gentle means just allowing. Like, you don't have to direct anything. You're not directing anything to go anywhere. You're allowing the things to pour out. Anyways, before I keep going with this rant, because this rant has no point, and that is my point. There's no point. Anyways, when we contemplate all dharma as dream, we regard our thoughts as a passing memory and label them as thinking, touching them very lightly. Then things will not appear to be so monolithic. Monolithic. We will feel a lightening of our burden. Labeling your thoughts as thinking will help you see the transparency of thoughts and that things are actually very light and illusionary. Every time your stream of thoughts solidifies into a heavy storyline that seems to be taking you everywhere, label that thinking. Then you will be able to see how all the passion that's connected with these thoughts, or all the aggression, or all the heartbreak, is a simple passing memory, even if for 1 second you actually had a full experience. That is all just thought. And what would be the moment of full awakening? And that would be the moment of full awakening. Hold on. Even for a second you actually had a full experience, that it was all just thought, that would have been the moment of a full awakening. This is how to begin awakening our innate ability to let go and to reconnect with Shunyata, the absolute bodhicitta. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Shunyata. I don't know. Also, this is how we awaken our compassion, our hearts, our innate softness, relative bodhicitta. Use the labeling, and use it with great gentleness as a way of touching those solid dharmas, and acknowledge that you just made them all up with this conversation you're having with yourself. When we say self-liberate, even the antidote, that encouragement to simply touch and let go of whatever you're coming up with, whatever bright solution or big plan you come up with, just let it go. Let them go, let them go. Whether you seem to have just uncovered the root of a whole life of misery, you're thinking of a root beer float, whatever you're thinking about thinking, let it go. When something pleasant comes up, instead of rushing around the room like a wind-up toy, you could pause and notice and let it go. This technique provides a gentle approach that breaks up the solidity of thoughts and memories. If memory was a strong one, you'll probably find that something is left behind when the words go. When that happens, you're getting closer to the heart. You're getting closer to the bodhicitta. These thoughts that come up, they're not bad. Anyway, meditation isn't about getting rid of thoughts. You will forever think, nonetheless. If you follow the breath and label your thoughts, you learn to let things go. Belief in solidness, belief in emptiness, let it go. If you learn to let things go, thoughts are no problem. But at this point, most of us, our thoughts are very tied up in our identity. with our sense of problem and our sense of how are things. The next slogan is rest in the nature of Alaya, Alaya, La, yeah, the essence. We can learn to let the thoughts go and just rest in our minds in a natural state in Anaya, an al Alaya. Just let the which is a word that means open primordial basis of all phenomenon. We can rest in the fundamental openness and enjoy the display of whatever arises without making such a big deal. So if you think that everything is solid, it's one trap. If you change if you change that for a different belief system, it's another trap. We can pull out the rug from our belief system altogether. We can do that by letting go of our beliefs and also our sense of being right and wrong. Just going back to the simplicity and the immensity of our present experience, resting in the nature of Alaya. Alaya? I think so. So that was chapter 3. And I'm end this here just because if I don't, I'm gonna ramble forever. So thanks for tuning in and tapping in. As always, my babies, I love you and I appreciate you for being here. I hope that this was helpful in any way, shape, and form, or maybe it was just entertaining. Maybe, I was able to put you to sleep, even with all of my pausing and, everything. So, with that being said, like I said, that was chapter 3. The next chapter that we're going to do is called Let the World Speak for Itself. So, yeah. And hopefully these don't go over like 30 minutes. I know that there's going to be some chapters that probably go over 30 minutes. And, I apologize for that in advance because I know these are already long as is. So, yeah, with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.